what's up, Juventini? Welcome back to your channel dedicated to La Vecchia Signora di AJC. God, can we get a victory show? Can we just get a few more victory shows, everybody? 2-1 loss to Milan. I still have Achita, okay? I am just almost at my wit's end here with this situation. And Motta, is January make or break? Some say give it time. So time, we're going to talk about if he's going to be allotted the time or not. And yes, there is news today around it all. And we got a great panel ready to tackle it all for you guys. So Lex, morning. How are you doing?
Good morning. I'm doing well, feeling better. I've had a nice good night's sleep to think over that game.
Oh my God. I was almost the opposite and couldn't sleep thinking about that game. But it's great to have you on here, Lex. We're going to have some fun. And then, of course, Paolo. Paolo, how are you doing, my friend?
Oh, good morning. I'm fine, thank you.
Yeah,
I lost my mind yesterday, and I thought this morning I would try and be practical and pragmatic and not lose my head.
there you go. There you go. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. You know, time. I keep hearing this thing. Time. Well, we're gonna break it all down. We're gonna break it all down. The news, I'm gonna hit you with the headlines, and then we're gonna tackle that on the back side of the Supercoppa semifinal. So news, just kind of blurbs going around here, is that Man City has approached Juventus for a potential loan on Douglas Luiz. This coming out from a weak source, okay? But it's still all being reported the same across the board on Luiz, that Juve doesn't want to say goodbye to him. Not at this point anyways. Vlahovic, there's interest from PSG, according to some reports, and they don't care about the high wages. We'll talk a lot about Vlahovic, I'm sure. Then you've got Danilo, Conte, and Napoli continue to push for Danilo. When it comes to Artur, Real Betis continues to push, trying to get this deal through. So there is some positivity there that we can finish this deal. And then I think that is it. Xerxes, Giuntoli came out yesterday saying there have been no discussions whatsoever. But today the rumors persist that there's been contacts made between Juventus and Xerxes' entourage. So we wait and see. Aside from that, Eric Milik, unclear on his return status. Yeah. I think we all kind of figured with all the reports, all the rumblings, that something was going to happen there, and it is. That is the news headline circulating today. And again, we will get back to it on the backside of the game. For the game itself, starting lineup: Di Gregorio, Savona, Gatti, Kalulu, McKennie, Locatelli, Thuram. We had Conceição set to start against his father, the new coach at Milan, and lo and behold, muscular injury in warm-ups. Oh, a little bit of heartburn just starts immediately before this game even starts. So, yeah, we will hope for the best there. We're still waiting for evaluations. I'm sure they're waiting for the club to get back, get settled, and then go through that. Yildiz steps in, and he steps in on the right wing because Imbangula starting on the left. Colt Miners in his classic position, and then Vlahovic up top. Thoughts on the lineups, everybody? Should Yildiz have started right out of the gate? Did you mind him kind of coming off the bench, which was the original plan? A lot of people saying after the way the game played out that maybe that proved that he was ready to make a mistake because Yildiz should have been out there from the get-go. What'd you think about the lineups? Let's start with Lex.
Right away, I don't like this Yildiz starting from the bench gimmick. And I've been vocal about it. I mean, we saw it in one game. Okay, one game. Now we've seen it become a bit of a recurring pattern. I'm not a fan of it, especially if you have a player and a talent like Yildiz. A player like that is not going to be too happy if they're being offered only 30 minutes of game time at the end of the match. He's also arguably our best player. You start your best players. End of story, in my opinion. You give them 90 minutes, the maximum amount of time that they can play, fitness-wise, in order to impact the game. You don't give them the last 30 minutes because that's sometimes not enough time for him to do something. And I thought that his goal yesterday and his performance overall definitely supported that point.
Yeah. Yeah. It's an interesting take. And then, Paolo, your thoughts on the lineup, and was he set to make a mistake without Yildiz in there from the get-go? Was that kind of proven?
I agree with Lex. I think he's probably the most talented and interesting prospect we have. I think he needs to be on the field all the time. Now, if Motta thinks Milan is a poor opponent and he can do well by bringing him in halfway, then that's a gamble he's going to take. And it didn't pay off. It wouldn't have paid off.
Yeah. When it came to the starting lineup, my thought was just out of Nico, who has been good since he's come back, Nico, Chico, and Yildiz, 2 out of those 3 have to play for me. Like 2 out of the 3, no question. If you're going into a game and 1 out of the 3 is on the lineup, that's not ambitious enough for a semi and trying to get into the final and trying to get more money that you need, especially since guys are out of the project almost every day. I thought I might wake up today and hear that we were going to go out in the Derby della Molla and have Perin, Pensolio, and Di Gregorio as the only outfield players. You just never know. Like, I don't know. I'm at a loss with these guys. So, yeah, for me, like, you got to have 2 of those 3 at least out there based on current form and how they're playing. Trying to keep one of them for some type of impact second half, I mean, kind of plays into one of the other issues I'm having with this team, and I think it happened in this game. We're going to get to the highlights. We're going to talk about it and everything, and we'll start off 20 minutes in. I thought the start of this game was great. And by the way, you know, so fired up sometimes. I didn't even take a second. What's up to everybody in the chat? You know, I'm trying to highlight some things, but I hope you're still all doing well. This one couldn't be an interesting show, okay? Not everybody's got the stomach for some of the shit I'm going to lay down today, but hey, I'm going to do it anyways because I always keep it real. So still great to see you all. Let's get into this. 20 minutes in, I actually thought that we started the game great. I love the way we started. You saw Milan press us early on, and we had no problems playing it around, getting out of there, drawing fouls when we had to. They were very smart about it. We were patient with it. And as time went on, we started to grow and started to move into their territory and started to do well, find a little bit of rhythm. This is just something simple. McKennie plays it forward for Mbangula, and I keep saying this time and time again, but when the wingers actually break free of this leash that is glued to the sideline, they do well. Weah does well with that. Yildiz does well with that. Even Chico does well with that. This is Mbangula taking a touch inside instead of just holding up the ball and going right back with it. He cuts inside. There's just a ton of space opens up for him there. Guys are making good runs, occupying defenders. You see Vlahovic taking 2 there, but Yildiz has a lot of space there, and Mbangula ends up feeding him wonderfully on this. And I gotta say, there's still a lot to be done here for the finish, and Yildiz, that's against Mike Maignan too, and he just absolutely rips this thing by him. Magnan's had guts. He had enough time just to get a fingertip to it. You see a slight deflection, but just an absolute rocket to the short side, top corner. Beautiful goal. 1-0 up. That's exactly how I want to see this team start games. And our press was good. Our pressure was good. We gained a lot of turnovers from that. And it's something I said earlier in the season, like when it faded. The second we lose that pressure, that ambition higher up the pitch, it takes us way too long to recover a ball, and we have to build up from like way too far back. This helps our offense tremendously, and you've got a team that struggles to create. It was a perfect start. Perfect start. Guys, let's get your thoughts on the goal first, talk about the goal, and then we'll talk about the follow-up at 1-0. But, guys, this goal, beautiful. Beautiful. Lex?
Yeah, I mean, I jumped off my couch. I was excited. I was really excited. I thought that entire play, seeing Mbangula, who looked great off of his first quick 3 steps, he was really fast on the left wing yesterday. And then when he broke free and sent that through ball, it was perfect. It was excellent from Yildiz' perfect finish. It was a great goal. Like definitely exciting, really hopeful for the rest of the match, which didn't age so well, but
Yeah, and then you Yildiz celebration didn't go with the tongue out, eh? Didn't go with the ADP. Huh. Huh. Paulo, what'd you think about that goal?
It was a beautiful shot. I mean, this guy could have made a meal of it, and instead he just lined it up and hit the top corner. I just think it's pure brilliance. What talent,
Yeah, absolutely. And
confidence.
now I tweeted out immediately after this goal and I said, just please, please keep up the intensity at 1-0. I felt it went flat. I felt it went flat again. And that pressure of winning the ball back higher up faded. Was I alone in that? Did you see it too? Did you all feel that?
yes, we went through the classic cycle where we score first and then we just somehow just fall completely flat, like you said.
Completely flat. We hit
Yeah.
halftime. It's 1-0. We get one more good Yildiz opportunity. He cuts in this time to his left foot and rips it, and it's too close to Mignon to cause any problems. Parries it away. We end there. It's 1-0. But again, I want to see more. I wanted to see more ambition. Like you let Milan gain more possession. You started to let them, comfortably be 1-0 down, as opposed to let them be very uncomfortable after going 1-0 down. I hate that. We
Mm-hmm.
continuously make it easy for our opposition to survive. You're
Yes.
not even testing them. At 1-0, you don't take away the pressure because you're up 1-0. You're going to give up chances anyways. We've proven that. You're not
Yeah.
clamped down at that early in the game. We're not capable. So that's what infuriates me about what we're doing. You get to the second half. Holy smokes, like it's just a scramble from the second half was pitiful in my opinion. This I don't even know how Teo Hernandez misses this opportunity. That falls right to him. Smack dab in the middle of the 8 yards away. Lucky. Lucky that doesn't go in. 9 times out of 10, that thing's going in the back of the net, no matter who's that player is. You know. So we come through unscathed there, and this was a scramble off a set piece that was just I don't know. Sometimes set piece crazy, and then it all starts here. This mad little 5-minute collapse. Locatelli in his post-match interview, and I love Loca. You guys all know that. Okay, this was an absolute bonehead PK to give up. His interview after, I respect the fact that he took responsibility and said that it all starts there and it's on me. But don't feed me the line that you didn't know he was there. What the hell? This is like the screen. If you can't feel that pressure, he's like, oh, I didn't see him. Nonsense. Nonsense. Look at that. You're looking forward. He's looking towards the top edge of the ball, going towards the top edge of that area, and Pulisic is right there. Not only can you see that, you can feel that. There is no chance you didn't see that guy. And I could have freeze framed this whole thing there. He's got multiple opportunities to see the guy is there. He's running away from your goal. That's unacceptable from anybody, let alone the guy wearing the goddamn captain's armband. This was a brutal moment for Locatelli. Brutal. I have nothing else to say, but this is crazy. It's crazy how we put ourselves in this situation. So, I'm at a loss on this one. And it sucks because the guy's been solid. And he has been great for us and whatnot. But and I guess this speaks more to the situation, that it's not the same players over and over and over. It's one game, it's now a guy that's been solid throughout. Now he's the one coming up as the GOAT. Before it's Cambiaso, The next time it's Kalulu, it's Gatti, it's all over the place. And that's what's the major concern. Paulo?
Yeah, it's a problem. A reckless attempt, and I think one thing that I thought, and I've been thinking this the past few games, is we're starting to see the cracks get wider, more water's coming through the holes, and players are starting to make mistakes more often, and we're starting to see the weakness of maybe them playing too much time, maybe not having enough solid substitutes, relying too much on Kalulu and Gatti with no other choices. Luca needing to be 100% every time. Cambiasso can't take a day off, can't make a mistake. The margin for error is gone, and
Yeah.
We're starting to see the results of that
Yeah.
situation.
Yeah. Lex, your thoughts on the fact that it's always someone new, it seems, that's finding ways that hurt us ultimately.
Yeah, I agree with both of you. I think that it has become more widespread than we'd like it to be. I think the problem is a bigger issue. It has to do with, like we spoke about last show, this overall mental like block or mental collapse that's kind of occurring within players. They just can't find a way to see out games for whatever reason. And this moment was just so frustrating because I feel like we had had a good first half and Milan was nowhere in this match. They had their first shot on goal a minute prior to this play. The entire game, the 68th minute. And so then to just take a PK like that when he's facing away from goal, like I mean, I understand mistakes happen, and as you said, Locatelli's been very strong, but still, it's such a frustrating moment. Like, it really left me in disbelief. You just have to question, like, what were you thinking in
I
that
know.
moment? Like, top of
That
the 18, going in the opposite direction, just let him win the ball. Like, what's he gonna do with it?
that's exactly it. It's just like I'm watching that like this isn't happening. Like no way. No way, you know?
Yeah,
It's always something. It's always something, but I think, and we'll get into it more after, but like the cracks have been there for a while, and now it just like you let things go unattended to, and eventually the cracks give, and
yeah.
you got yourself a blowout, and we might be seeing that, and that's why it seems like it's a tough hole for them to dig themselves out of. I don't know if they're gonna do it. I don't know if they're gonna do it. It's crazy. Now we keep it rolling. Obviously, PK, we know what comes with the other goal, okay? But I'm sorry. That's one of the worst taken PKs I've seen in a long time. Like, it didn't have that much heat. Like, this is crazy to me that he doesn't stop that. And yeah, maybe the rebound pops right back out. He pops it in again or something. But like, good God, man. I don't know. I'm more upset about this than I am the second play, and we'll talk about the second play. But are are you serious? Am I just a midfielder that's out of line here talking about a goalkeeper? What the hell? He didn't even have to dive or move or anything.
Yeah, it's a tough one. I'll say that Berto, you and I called for a Penning start in our lineups in the other show. So hey, I don't know. Maybe Mota should have listened to us, but no, I don't know. It's tough for me to rag on goalkeepers because I really don't know. But yeah, maybe this one does feel like he could have gotten a piece for sure.
I don't know. Paulo, am I being too rough?
I don't know. You're as a goalie, it's the worst job on the field, and when you make a mistake, it's there's nowhere to hide. You got to jump usually before the kick's taken, so there's strategically that's kind of something you need to do. It looked terrible, but my concern is also later on when he comes out, probably ahead of when he needs to, anticipating something that doesn't happen.
We'll talk
Maybe
about
he's
that. This one for me stings. I don't know. Like, it's not a good PK. It's almost smack dab center. I don't know. Reflexes, like all that, your hand, I mean, Jesus. they made it sound on the broadcast like he just absolutely, like the thing was going to rip through the net and it might strike a fan in attendance and kill them. It wasn't that hard. It was like, seriously, I'm like, that is one of the worst PKs I've seen. Anyways, we'll keep it rolling because yeah, this is the sequence. And I want to say there's an attempt here in the second half, kind of before this meltdown, where people are calling Vlahovic out for another. They were calling it tap in. We saw the cross in, lovely cross in, and he gets it all wrong on that. He's got to do better on that. That was poor. I think his game in general is poor. I think something else with Vlahovic that we'll get to, but there was that opportunity too. Now you get to this. So you could barely see it on the edge of the screen. Di Gregorio's at the top of the 18 as it is now, and he had already started tracking back when this ball moved down the flank. So he was actually like at the top of his area, almost outside of his area, and he started backing up. The second Gatti here, and I don't know, Cambiasso is inside by some amount of yards. I don't know if I'm abandoning that guy in the middle. Look at the ground you have to cover, Gatti. The play here is an easy touch into the middle for the player that's going right in on Di Gregorio. Di Gregorio, Gatti froze him up. Like, this is a mess on both of them. It's kind of shit. I mean, and I don't know how many times this is going to happen that you hit it like that, and it literally, like, this is where Gatti gets to. I don't know. Like, should have just let Cambiasso keep tracking him, keep him to the outside, force a chain. I don't know. Like, I don't know. This is like, you see Di Gregorio at the spot here. It's just a mess. It's just a mess. The whole thing was just unnecessary. Unnecessary. This is an easy play for, number one, if you're a good enough player, you could pass that thing into the goal. If you're good enough. You know? I don't think they were, Di Gregorio, it looked like he thought, which was the play, to put an easy one into the middle, and he's going to have to try and come out and rush because he's dead to rights there. If he sits back, it's almost like it's the only thing he can do. And of course, because of how things are going for us, that deflection goes right behind and curls behind Di Gregorio. But, guys, I don't know. It's a bit unlucky, but it's just a mess, too, from us.
I think Di Gregorio overplayed it, to be honest. He needed to stay back on his line a bit more. He needed to wait to see if the cross came in. He had two defenders that were able to intercept the ball, assuming that ball even gets past them and even gets to the guy who's charging in at the top of the box, who may or may not get a touch on it. It may go past him. Di Gregorio comes out and he doesn't have to, and he blows it. And I think he makes a bad mistake that Szczesny would have made. Szczesny, who's more experienced, would have sat back a little more to see where that ball's going and then reacted, because he probably knows he has time to decide once he sees the path of the ball. And I think Di Gregorio blew it.
Lex?
Yeah, it's a fair take for sure. I think I really do agree too with the fact that Gatti overplaying and checking out. I don't know why he made that large diagonal run wide. I think that also screwed him up, thinking he was going to have to win the cross. So that's why he cheated. But he definitely did cheat, Di Gregorio, on the play. I think anticipating, and then the unbelievable happened, as it always seems to do against us, and it hits against Gatti and somehow wraps into and goes in the net. You just sit there in disbelief. Did that just happen? That seems to be like the reaction to most plays recently. I
understand talking about Di Gregorio can hang back, but Gatti can hang back too there. There's no need. I really don't think he needs to bust in there on this moment right here. This
Yeah.
ball is still out wide. Like, allow Cambiasso to come back. Hold on to this. Protect this. The other thing to be said is, did Di Gregorio actually think that the 6 was the goal line? Maybe. I don't know. Did he lose track? Did he, like, I don't know. Like, you gotta be better on all accounts, but I don't think Gatti needs to abandon there. But I'm gonna go even a step further. Because you guys know what I said after the Fiorentina game when Cambiasso slipped. I said, where on earth is Kalulu? Where on earth is Kalulu before this play even gets to this point in a 1-1 match when you just went equal and again we lose our ship positionally? There he is. The ref's closer to the fucking play than our center back.
Again.
Guys, there's so much that's wrong with this. I can't pick on an individual right now. I'm serious. When it comes to this team, like, I'm at a point where I can't pick on an individual. It ends there. It's 2-1. We get one last opportunity, and it's a sequence aerial battle, falls to Gatti, and there's a big block there made by Gabbia. And it ends 2-1, and to be honest, we do it to ourselves. That was an awful Milan, and we, like, Juve beat Juve yesterday.
Yeah.
You know?
There was only one team on the pitch.
It was an awful Milan.
Yeah,
awful.
Terrible. And they gave, like, Conceição this push. Oh, like, new manager claims the first win. I'm like, what?
They were awful.
They were terrible.
This was a catastrophic collapse. Catastrophic. I don't even know where we go from here, but I know that we have set it up as the good, the bad, and the ugly. And Paolo, I'm going to give you the honors of rocking with the good, the bad, and the ugly. You could start with whatever sequence you want. The ugly, the bad, the good. But you kick us off here in the post-match here.
Yeah, that was my notes from yesterday. I had some good moments, some bad ones, and some horrible ones. I think we should start with the good. We've been talking a little bit about the bad, so let's look at the good. I've got a long list. I won't go through it. Maybe we'll just share our thoughts on some of the good things. For example, Yildiz. What a goal. What a player. You can put him on the right wing, start him at the last minute, and he doesn't mess around. He gets to the top of the box. He sees the corner and he hits it. What a beautiful player. So I think that's good. And as far as other players go, I want to say Luis looked okay when he came on. He had that ball and he was making some dribbles through. He was patient, readjusting his path, looking for an opening. He had one pass, I think, or two that went stray, but I think he also looked good, which is positive.
All right. So the good. Lex, what was your good?
Yeah, I think discovering that Yildiz offers a lot of threat from the right wing was also good. That was a nice discovery we made yesterday. I like that he can play quicker because the ball falls to his strong foot on that side. I also thought it was good that we were moving the ball a lot faster in the first half. I think that is also something we saw in the Fiorentina game that was making me hopeful, especially when we would get a goal out of that kind of sustained attack and quick possession, which was really helping us break down the other team's back line, which I felt like we were struggling with. I would say that was another good for me.
All right. The good for me, kind of ties in with the bad, funny enough. But the good for me was actually Mbangula and Yildiz and some of the things that were happening at the beginning of the match. We started the game on time. We had good pressure. We were creating a lot of turnovers. And the guys offensively were able to move pretty good through it. But Mbangula, I think Kefren Turam again is still, and like I said, this will tie into my bad, but Mbangula, Turam, Yildiz, all really good for me. Strong. Now, if we want
Bert, I want to add something else for the good. I think that first half was pretty solid, and I saw a back line that was high. I saw the wingers actually get up the fullback wing. The fullbacks get really high as well. I saw the two center backs open up a little bit, and Di Gregorio come through the center almost as a center back. Um, the mids were moving around. There's a lot more freedom, and it was almost like this idea of the Motta ball that I tried to get my head around when he started. What Motta ball could be, and one of the things it was about is players moving up around the edges and cycling and switching positions, and I saw more freedom in the forwards and the midfielders. So I think I almost saw some Motta ball stuff in that first half, and I think that was good. The pressure, the possession, playing high, the freedom, the movement, a lot of movement off the ball. And honestly, the good was maybe my first evidence of Motta ball.
All
But that
right.
was only the first half.
Yeah. Now we get to the bad. Now we get to the bad. Who wants to kick us off on the bad? I mean, I kind of said it ties into my good. I think when we look at this match too, and we get into Juve's substitutions, I don't take Mbangula out of this game. Not on one goal, not on the way he was playing. I thought he was doing very well. I thought there was a bit of a disconnect there. In terms of Vlahovic, it was bad. I have no problems with Nico Gonzalez being that call. I have no issues with that. Thuram, I don't take out of this game. I don't take Khéphren Thuram out of that game. The call to get Weston McKennie moved up to a left wing position when your wingers are the best two players on the pitch for you at that moment and can easily go the full 90 is, I don't know, there's a bit of a disconnect there. There's a bit of a disconnect there that continues, and I will put that as a bad. There's a disconnect in games, I think, sometimes with Motta. Not all the time, but I've said that quite a bit when it comes to his substitutions. I don't really get it. So that's probably the bad for me, is that the substitutes were disconnected. And the bad was, again, 1-0, making life easy for the opponent. And a poor opponent at that. They were awful. I can't stress that enough. You should kill, but you're not going to kill. You're not going to kill if you don't have the ambition to do so, or play with the ambition to do so. It's us letting up. It's not them forcing us to let up. It's us letting up. That has to stop. You can't go into a press conference day in, day out and say we don't kill games and we leak a bunch of goals, but do nothing to help. Like, you see, this team creates the best when it presses, when it gains the ball back higher up the pitch. But when you prevent them from doing that, then we see these struggles in creation. So the bad is that the bad habits aren't going away. That's the bad for me. Lex, you're bad?
Well said. I agree with you completely on all of those. I think the bad, as you mentioned, has to do with us just deciding we want to stop playing mid-game, especially after we go up. And I don't know why we do this time and time again. When you see that as a team, we achieve more success and we look stronger, we dominate when we do press. When you mentioned when we do press, when we do try to attack. I think like the inability to finish off a team and basically kick them out of the game is something that we just can't seem to do. And that is something that was bad from yesterday. I also want to say, like, the weird final substitution window, which throwing on Fajoli for his token 5 minutes and Douglas Luiz was also bad for me. First of all, you're wasting our own time to tie this match. To put on two players that, are they really gonna push the agenda? I don't know if those are. Seemed a little bit like a Hail Mary, especially just throwing them on, whether or not they performed well after that substitution. But for me, it just seemed a bit desperate and it just was unnecessary. It seemed too predictable. His substitutions have become too predictable in general, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. Paulo, you're bad.
Yeah, great points from both of you. There were a lot of errant passes. There were passes throughout the game that were behind somebody who was too far ahead, or ahead of somebody who was not there yet, or to an open man that was inaccurate. So I think one of the bad things were a lot of errant passes. I agree about the subs. The subs were the timing of the subs and the type of subs seemed suspect. And the bad also in that we're starting to see the weaknesses of some of our players. I think Kalulu looked tired. We're asking too much of Gotti, and I think him trying to block a shot coming across isn't the worst thing in the world, but you're seeing the weaknesses and the vulnerability of some of our players right now, and we don't have options for them.
The ugly. Oh. I'm going to be real short and sweet with my ugly. The ugly is that the same things that some of us have been complaining about for a while are still there and prevalent within this club. The ugly is that January is a gauntlet of a schedule. And, this will kind of segue into the whole time thing. Because we still hear they need time, major overhaul, all this. You need to kind of deserve that time. And that is where the discussion, I believe, is up for interpretation on whether Motta is allotted the time. The ugly is that it's not just the same usual suspects getting into the errors that we talked about. This is a collapse that keeps happening now all of a sudden. You're complaining about the same things. We have a manager that's going out there that's saying exactly what the problems are, but we don't see anything to change it. I don't see anything to change it. Yesterday's match, I have no problem substituting Cope Miners. Yeah. No problem substituting that man based on what was going on. He won't leave the pitch with this guy, and I don't understand why. Thuram should not have been subbed yesterday's game. Absolutely not. Mimbangula should not have been subbed. Absolutely not. You're asking for trouble. You want time? You want me to feel comfortable about you getting time? I need to see why you deserve that. But we're going to get into the time thing. The ugly is that some of these things aren't breaking. These bad habits aren't breaking. That's as simple as I can get with the ugly. And I think it's getting to a dangerous point with players. And that might sound crazy because it's January, but it is. And some of the shortcomings we had in the Mercado are coming up. Vlahovic is checked out, ladies and gentlemen. He is checked out. My father, you guys know Papa Gio. You've seen him rant on the post-match, okay? Real simple from him on Vlahovic. Non chenkunyechu. He's not doing it anymore. It's done. He said it's finished with him. Non chenkunyechu. Not with us, anyways. It's checked out. That's the ugly. That's the ugly. That's as simple as I can get for ugly. It's bleeding down. I don't know if they have what it takes to crawl out of this one. It's not far off of the second half collapse of last year. Mm-hmm. Like as far as the vibes, as far as the feelings, as far as what we're seeing on the pitch. It's not far off from that. Am I out of line? I don't know.
No.
It feels kind of eerily the same watching this team play. I don't know, you guys, but that's my ugly. What are you guys going to lay down on ugly as we get into the full aftermath?
My ugly is this team doesn't know who they want to be yet. And that's concerning because it's January. And we're entering a very, very scary month of fixtures. And I think this team is in limbo. And right now it's like they're teetering on this edge. They could go up. There's positives with how we've been playing. Or they could go the other way and take a bit of a collapse, right? So I think that's the point. That's what's ugly for me is that really we can't decide. Do we want to push and attack and finish games off by killing teams off? Or can we clamp down at the back and can we, seal off our own goal in those moments as well. And I feel like we can't do either, which is why we've just been drawing games. It's been this big stalemate for the last month or so of the season. And I really think that this upcoming month, the Mercato, what happens with the squad, will all play a role into how the rest of our season goes and how we finish it off.
Yeah. And I want to make a point on that. On the January Mercato. For me, if we are looking so heavily on a January window as help, we have failed somewhere across the line. And I don't think that there's one failure. I think there's multiple at this point, which we're going to get into. I see multiple issues. And I'm going to literally lay into where I'm at, where I'm ready to go if things hit a certain point this month. But looking at January as this type of like savior thing, January is always a difficult window. And again, it frustrates the hell out of me that we're just pushing a depth, just a support piece in a leader, like a guy that has worn our captain's armband through a brutal period for nothing. Mm-hmm. We've got no money. You have to sell to bring in, but you're still saying guys are no, like the ego to do something like that is beyond me. Where do you get this ego when your team is playing like shit? It's wild to me. But to look at answers in January, to see them as something bigger is a problem. I think that's a key sign that the coach isn't giving us what we need. And even Juntoli to some degree, those shortcomings came back to bite us and we're hurting. But Paolo, you're ugly.
Wow. Well, the ugly for me is the in-game, the biggest ugly. There's two, but the biggest one is the in-game mismanagement. Against Fiorentina, you have the lead, and if we can't all form a box and lock down our area and ride out a couple of bad shots from distance, intercept a couple of passes that aren't getting anywhere, clear it out, maybe counterattack, what is wrong with us? If we can't lock down 5 minutes and defend a lead, that is game mismanagement. That means the players aren't prepared. They don't know what they're supposed to do. They don't have a go-to plan for a lead. And yesterday when we came out on the second half with a 1-0 lead and we looked disorganized, we looked like we were reacting awkwardly to Milan putting a bit of pressure, which we should have expected.
Yeah.
We got sloppy, careless, and looked vulnerable. We had the lead. And if we can't go into a second half and lock down this crappy Milan, we are being mismanaged. So I believe Motta is mismanaging this team during the game, and it's ugly. And Juntoli gets a special ugly because we do not have enough players. We came into this season without enough players. And when we're relying on Gatti to save our season and play every game, for Kalu to play every game and not make mistakes, for Cambiasso cannot make one mistake, Savona can't make one mistake, he's a kid. He has left us vulnerable with a limited roster. And so the Juntoli's ugly and Motta's mismanagement in game is ugly. Reactionary football. We are reacting to everything, and we're not leading anything, and it's costing us everything. It's ugly.
There you go. It's hard to disagree.
I feel a bit better.
I'm glad. And this is what it's for. Hey, we come out here, the army comes out here, and we lay it down. We lay it down. In the summer, I can understand the moves Juntoli made. I can understand what he was seeing. Like you could easily make the argument for all those teams or moves, excuse me. You can easily make the argument for all of those moves. But the depth was questioned. It was like, I said it all the time. I go, I don't have a problem with Moise Kean breaking even and just calling it a wash. But you still have to have somebody in. The defenders, okay, we said goodbye to a bunch of them. I said, I don't understand a loan for Rugani. And if he's not the guy, you still need a body. It's about bodies. Like, and the support hasn't been there. And you still hit January with a friggin' injury crisis, and you have the gall while your team sits sixth and is playing dire football to push more out? What? Now I've got red flags up, and I'm like, okay, what the hell is happening here? When it comes to Motta, I told everybody on a couple of these live shows in the build up to this game, I said there was a meeting with Elkan, and he spoke to Juntli and Motta, but I think the motive is not to the motives us fans would put it on, which is the performances because of, history, standards, etc. It's because of money. They have to reach top 4. And I don't think that there's this much smoke around Elkan trying to sell or make this thing look good. I don't think there's that much smoke for nothing. So that's going on in the background. Does that put Motta in danger? Potentially. Does it put Juntoli in danger? I don't know. But I'm going to go as far as this. We're going to start with this time discussion, which everybody keeps talking about. I'm going to ask you two openly right now, where you're at right now. Does Motta deserve time? Where is the breaking point for you individually? We talk about this a lot. I said there has to be a breaking point for Juve. There has to be. Otherwise, what are we doing here? People were talking, and I said this a month and a half ago. If you think that there's no breaking point, that's crazy to me. Nobody gets a free pass. Right now, there's people out there having open discussions saying if you had to make a decision right now, we don't know who an alternative is, who would come in, etc., which is a piece of the puzzle that hurts. Does Motta deserve time based on what you've seen so far? Or has a breaking point been created for you now, personally? Paulo.
That's a tough one. That's a real tough one.
I got my answer ready, and I'm ready to fire. It's cocked, loaded, ready to go.
The main issue I have with this is Juventus is such a club that it should not be in the position to advise its fans that it needs a couple of years to rebuild a project. We should never be rebuilding anything. We should always be succeeding and always be at the top of our game and always complementing what we have and making moves to stay high and stay on top. So the whole prospect of a project still bothers me a bit. I don't know. I'm not sure about Motta. I'll be honest. I'm just not sure. It's been a half season and I haven't seen anything change. I'm trying to think about Juntoli has not put him in a great spot with a limited roster. I don't know how much patience I have left for Motta's type of game.
Yeah. Lex, does Motta deserve time?
I'll be honest. I think January will be very decisive for whether or not he deserves more time. I think that he has a lot of tests in the league, which, as you mentioned, that should be top priority right now. Like making top 4 is a necessity for the club, especially in terms of funding. So I think that how he does against these other top teams this upcoming month, because that will really, really significantly play a role into where we finish in the table come end of season. It's tough because there's definitely been a lot of positives, and there is an argument to be had about lack of support, both at center back and also at striker, which are two issues that we've really talked about a lot. I get concerned because it feels like we have the same conversation. We've been having the same conversation for the last few months regarding Motta's game and changes that we want to see that aren't really being attempted. I feel like he's stuck and he's kind of playing like we always talk about, Coop in the 10, take him out of the 10. Can we try something different? Like we always have the same discussions around the team, and that's concerning. So I think that we need to see some more change from Motta and some more attempt to play and to play his game. So I think we really need to see the pieces come together a bit more this next month before I'm like fully convinced that, yeah, he's warranted this time. I agree.
Everybody, get the likes up. Let's go. Got a lot of you in here. It's active in here. Love it. Absolutely love it. I highlighted this comment here from Alex Juve. All that you planned can't be thrashed away. The plan is not just with one manager, though. The plan also contains Champions League qualification. That's a major, major key in the plan. Otherwise, hey, it doesn't matter. And even just in general, everybody's got a plan till you get punched in the mouth. Classic Mike Tyson. Love the guy. But god damn it, you made Paul look way too good. You should have still knocked him out. Now, I got to say this on Motta, everybody. It's like... I feel there's not... like, my fear is that we've got a one-trick pony. I've said this for a while. It's what I didn't think he was. But I fear that we might have. A lot of the things that we see repetitively. And while it doesn't work, and, you know, then you get this change for one Coppa Italia match, and you think, okay, he sees it. Now we can move on, only to take it back again. For the same shortcomings to come up repeatedly through matches, and then over time, it becomes bigger. Because, yeah, the mental aspect kicks in. You have, for 2 weeks, players doing interviews. And they keep all saying the same thing. I can't understand. I can't understand. I can't understand. They can't understand why nothing's translating on the pitch. What is happening there that these guys don't understand? Now it bleeds into the fact that all these guys, and it doesn't matter who, are costing us games left, right, and center. Mm-hmm. I understand feeling like, yeah, it's too early. You need more time. No, you don't. You don't. The fundamentals and basics aren't there. They're not there. You want to talk, people have been telling me for months now, injuries this, injuries that. It doesn't matter. Take 11 players, whoever the hell they are. If you're working with them for half a season, I expect some type of chemistry amongst them and cohesion and a good game. And if you're telling me that no matter who those 11 guys are, it's totally normal to have the same problems from the beginning of a season to the halfway mark, I'm going to say bullshit. Bullshit. Ancelotti said the game changed for him when he realized, and players made him realize, he can't be rigid. And he had to adapt and go with who he has. I'm asking the question, if Motta's doing what's the best for the group, positionally, in roles and everything, etc., I'm not 100% sure. Okay? I'm not 100% sure. If you want to talk about time and deserving time, etc., no. And you want to talk about we can't create a coaching carousel? You know what? You kind of can. You kind of can. Because, you know, I was always like, you don't want to create that carousel. But you know what? It also plays into standards. And I'm just going to say something right now. January's make or break for this team. If you lose the chance to, like, top 4 becomes in serious doubt, see you later. And you know what else? Get those 2 Muppets that are bankers out of this friggin' club where they can go sit in an office behind the scenes. And I'm going to go as far to say, find me a fucking guy that can spearhead this actual thing, because it starts from the top. There's a lot of focus on Giuntoli and Motta, but it actually goes above them. There is nobody steering this ship. Elkan is not doing it because Elkan's concern is the money. But I'm telling you, coaching carousel, it doesn't scare me one bit. The bottom line is time's out the window. You have a job to do, and you have to get it done. Period. Otherwise, welcome to the beginning of becoming a club you never want to see Juve become. I at least respect clubs that do make those moves on coaches because they know what they're looking for and they know what they're after. I ask all of you, what the fuck is Juve after? And what have we been after these past 4 years? What have we been after? That's where I'm at. I don't care about time. I don't care how long it's been. You have a job to do. If you see the same problems over and over and over, guess what? You signed up for that gig, and this is Juve. Or we stop saying this is Juve, and we battle this thing of history versus reality. And Paulo, you put it perfectly. It's like we're stuck in this flux between history and reality. But that's where I'm at, everybody. I want those two bankers. I don't want to see, I don't care. They can be at the game. They can watch a game there. I don't care. I don't want them on the cameras. I want somebody that actually understands the game spearheading this thing. And Giuntoli probably can't get free reign because I don't like that either right now. In the summer, I can understand it, okay? But right now, you're still making pushes. Where do you get the nerve?
Yeah.
And what kind of a precedence does that set for any players to be loyal to you if you're doing that to Danilo?
Mm-hmm.
Guys could say whatever the hell they want about the quality of that player, but what he did, what he stood for, and how he acted was nothing but that of a true professional. And if I'm Chico, we don't make top 4, yeah, I'm going to go play with my dad.
Mm-hmm.
This team doesn't give a shit about its players. I'm pissed, you guys. I'm absolutely livid. I'm absolutely livid. And time is not of a concern for me. I don't want to waste time. I don't want to waste time if this is what I'm seeing early on. I don't know. The managers that people want to bring up that said, oh, it took 2 years, it took 3 years. But there was progress. There was progress.
And also a lot of those managers, Bert, well put. I agree with pretty much everything you said. I don't know why Giuntoli was in the bench last night either. Like, what was he doing sitting on the bench? Was he giving tips to the players? Like, shouldn't that guy be up in a box somewhere doing some homework? Or anyway, I agree with what you said. I don't believe the team I love and support should be allowed excuses.
I'm sweating now, guys, okay? I'm fired up.
I don't think they should be allowed excuses. And I understand you don't just get rid of a coach when you don't have a solution. You don't have an alternative. These other coaches that needed time, like Arteta and whomever, needed time to grow a team, needed a couple of years. I kind of get that. But we have, and I said this yesterday too in a message, I said I really like this squad. And I think the players, 11 players that we do have, and you put them on a field, they should be able to beat anybody. I like the squad. I think they're good enough.
Yeah.
The first half of the season, Motta has failed to convince me of anything, and that frustrates me. The times we've succeeded have been individual efforts from Thuram, individual efforts from Dusan against Leipzig. Perrin almost stealing us a game against Stuttgart.
Yeah.
They're individuals who are rising to the occasion. Chico has risen to the occasion. Yildiz has risen to the occasion. They are saving us. And the coach owes them a lot, and I think they're making their coach. I think Motta owes him a dinner. I'll put it that way.
And that's where it gets to. It gets to this point of some believing that Motta is masking deficiencies in the roster, and others that think, is he? Is he actually masking deficiencies in the roster? Is he holding this team back from getting results even? I don't know. I don't think he's masking deficiency. I had some go as far to say that this roster isn't better than last season's. So, chat, Is this roster better than last season's? Lex, is this roster better than last season's?
Um, that's a good like argument. I mean, we always talk about that. Like, is it the roster? Is the coach getting the most out of the roster? Is the roster using individual talent to make the coach look good? I feel like it's like an age-old debate.
I gotta put
Um,
this in the poll just because it's immediately looking like a serious split, but continue on with your thoughts, Lex.
yeah, go on. I think that I would say like I don't know, maybe I think I do always tend to side with players. Maybe because I'm still a player. Maybe it'll change as I get older. But I think this year's roster is strong, and I thought last year's roster was strong as well. I would say that they're both strong. I would argue that this year we have strengthened the roster, definitely, I think. Especially in the midfield with the additions of Turam. I think that man, it's tough because we lost Bremer. But I do think that Motta has found a way to. I agree with your points, I do. But I do think he's also found a way to get this team playing in a way that we haven't seen for a while. And maybe that was just because of the football we were subject to in the past. But there has still been points, I think, in the first half of the season where we've seen flashes of his style and we've seen flashes of what can be. Whether or not that's enough for what we want to go off of is a good debate to have. But I think we see guys like Cambiazo that really thrive in the system, aside from maybe like the slip and mistakes and recency bias, but we've really seen him thrive. We've seen McKennie thrive in this system because of his utility. I think we've seen Yildiz really thrive. Whether or not you want to argue it's individual talent, you can go off of that. I think Turam has been thriving. I think there's enough individual guys that you can say have been thriving in our system to argue that he is getting the most out of these guys. But that's my take, I think. But it's up to you, really, like I said, whether you want to argue it's talent versus system.
Yeah. And Paulo, your answer to is the roster better this year than last?
I think it is. We're not a Champions League winning team. We're not Madrid right now. Like, we're not one of these super high level teams with so many strong players in all the right positions, playing 110% consistently every game. We're not that roster. But I think we are better than last year. And I think Serie A has a lot of poor teams. And this group should be able to beat most of them. So I think the roster is better, and I think it should be producing better results.
I feel like it's tough. It's not a flat out yes. It's definitely different in the sense that I feel like at the back we're pretty limited, and obviously the Bremer injury hurts. But like the back would probably be not as solid, but the game plan, this is to my point, the game plan helped that last year because the names weren't spectacular, but we clamped down and you played a 3-5-2 to do it. So this year, if I'm saying the midfield in general, the names that are there, these are guys that played solid football before coming here, and now all of a sudden they're just not good enough at all. Overpriced, overused. Regardless of the price, these are guys that were delivering consistently for multiple seasons. Okay? The midfield for me is better. The attack is better with Yildiz having the consistency and Chico Conceição's addition and even Nico's. But Nico's got to stay fit. We've had injuries problems too. But I think on paper, this team is probably a bit stronger, but it lacks leadership. And it took a big hit in leadership. However, on paper doesn't matter whatsoever. That's where your coach comes into play. Because you could spend however much you want. You could spend as little as you want. None of it matters if the guy in charge can't put it all together and make it work. You can give a guy whatever ingredients. He can ask for whatever ingredients he wants. But maybe, just maybe, he can't make that fucking pie. I don't know.
I think like some comments have been mentioning too, like considering the money spent in the summer, the roster should be better. Otherwise, we have a bigger issue, which is how are we selecting our players that we're bringing in? And, and we have given flack to prior coaches about this and coaches across the league that, he has inherited an expensive squad, a squad that we've spent a lot of money to build. So there should be some sort of results wielded as a result of that. So I think I do agree as well with comments that have been mentioning that. I see you guys in the chat debating that as well.
72% say yes, roster's better. And we're not talking a ton, okay? But you took over a team that qualified for Champions League and you spent 167 million. I mean, come on. That's where I start to really have a tough time stomaching that this guy gets, like anybody at Juve gets a pass. If we drop to 7th, 8th, what? No. God, no. No.
If people talk about us having spent a lot of money, we sold a lot. So we've been pretty budget conscious. This sustainable thing, I get it, and it's real. But we've sold a lot, and we sold some good talent to finance some of these acquisitions. So it's not like we went out and spent 200 million on top of whatever we had. We sold a lot to get some of these dollars to spend.
Now, and again, I can't stress this enough because I'm not just going all in on these two, Giuntoli and Motta, but honestly, if you look across the board at teams that have gotten themselves into trouble, into serious trouble, what's the one common denominator? Because you've got teams that have changed coach after coach after coach, but it's at the top. It's at the top. It's above them. Culture, standards, and that's why us as fans, we get into fights, we get into battles because we are glued to the history and the standards and the culture of what Juve was. But now, who's holding that down that's actually there? Who's holding that down that's actually there? It ain't Elkan, and it ain't that Panda Bear, and it ain't Scanavino. You know? We got a better shot if we get Scangavino in there. We got to get Scangavino in there for some DNA. I don't know, you guys. But management is right now prime suspect. Yeah. And it's above Giuntoli. Seriously. It's got to change. These guys came in to do a job, to do a cleanup. That's cool. But who's the guy now? Who's the guy now that actually embodies Juventus, that will actually have this connection with the fans, who, by the way, that's where your money comes from. Juve, so, earth to you guys over there, but yeah, your fans are the ones spending their hard-earned money.
It's a good question, Bert. It's a good question. Who's in charge, right? Like, I don't know. Right now, Giuntoli could be in charge. Like, he could be the figurehead, the main man right now. And is he going to fire himself? Is he going to implicate
Is Elkan
himself?
going to step in and say, because like I said, we heard about a meeting going down between Giuntoli, Elkan, and Motta, but that's just financial. Like, he's just like, hey, you got to reach top four. Whatever. That doesn't, like, what's that going to do? I don't understand. And again, the treatment thing. If Giuntoli has the reins, like I said, in the summer, I get it. But now, this push and how you're treating guys, it's weird. Now it's weird. Because the overhaul, the big push in the summer to get business done, try to speed up the process, I get it. Now it's beyond that. It's a little bit strange. I'm starting to look at you like, man, what exactly is going on here? Culture-wise, there is no culture right now. There is no culture.
Yeah,
You've got
I think
players.
There's a loss.
You've got players that talk one way, and you've got a manager that talk another way, and you have a sporting director that talks like top four is like the be-all end-all. Oh my God, we can make top four? What an achievement! Crazy. Lex, you were saying?
Well, I agree with you. I think that there's just like a lack of leadership and like strong characters from the roster to the coach to the management above the coach. Just overall, I think there's just been a lot of turnover that the club has gone through over the past few years that maybe has played a role into that. And I was thinking about it, like how many players are left who were on the original, like one of the original squads that won a Scudetto. Like now it's been a certain number of years.
Yeah.
So it's important to think about that. And considering their treatment of Danilo, it also plays a role into like, what are we doing? Like, this is how we're treating someone who was a leader for the team and a good leader at that, whether or not you want to argue his recent performances, as you mentioned earlier. But I think that that just also plays a role into the fact that the club it's lacking identity, and it has been for a long time. And I think it doesn't help that we've had a lot of turnover, and, it's really, really, a delicate time for the club right now in terms of which direction they want to take.
Yeah. I just put another poll question out to the chat. I told you guys I'm hearing a lot that Agnelli is working in the background to partner up. The name is Ben Salman too, and he wants to buy Juve. We're hearing a lot that Elkan wants to sell. We heard that he's going to sell at the end of next season. We wait and see. I was on the fence. I was on the fence about Agnelli, his return, for a couple reasons. He's got a lot of enemies. He's a target, easy target. But I'm telling you, I don't feel like I'm on that fence anymore. Like, bring him back. I'd take him back in a heartbeat. And you know what? There has to be somebody else, though, with him. That could be the contingency plan. It can't be just one. But I'm at a yes now. And you've got others saying, hell no. I'm at a yes now. I was on the fence. I'm at a yes now. But I want to see somebody with contingency. Paulo, Lex, Agnelli back to spearhead things. It sucks because it went sideways for him towards the end there. But maybe he needed that. Maybe he took things for granted. Maybe he needed to regroup. But the reunions, we know about the reunions. I said no reunions ever on the pitch. Does that stand for upper management? Am I going back on that one? Maybe. Did Agnelli totally start the mess? Or did COVID? He did allow Paratici to run amok. Cherubini was also involved. I tell you what. Can I just put a stipulation on it, everybody? I want Agnelli back as the guy running, spearheading the things. But I don't want him to have, like, total power. I don't need him to be the absolute face. I need this guy around the club, though. Or find me the guy who is like that. Because the guy, all he cared about was Juve. And he bled black and white, like, to a T. The tweets, the words, everything he said. The 38 on the stadium, I put what I want in my house. And it's right. Like, he's the embodiment of Juve. Everything he did, he's a visionary. There are active employees at Juventus now that state everything's completely different without him. The vibes, the feelings, everything is completely different. He was a visionary. Everybody hung on every word the guy said was gospel around that place. These same employees are now saying it's broken.
If you look at Juventus's history, I always have a special place in my heart for Juve because it was a family team. It was nurtured and grown by a family who loved the team, who loved football. It was always the Juventus family against everybody else. So if Agnelli is someone who can bring back some of that passion and personality and pride, with that stipulation, maybe he is needed.
Yeah, bring me somebody like that. Give me another next to him, contingency planning to overlook something. Who is holding Giuntoli, Motta, etc. accountable?
I don't think anybody is right now.
That's my fear. It ain't that Panda Bear and it ain't Scandavino. They're not doing anything. Lex, would you take him back?
I agree. I think I would. Standards have to come from top down. At the end of the day, there has to be a bar at the top, and those are the people who hold the standards. And I think that Agnelli and the Agnelli family really did a brilliant job of that, especially under the years of dominance. As you mentioned, Paulo, I always was proud because of the owners that Juve had, and because I felt lucky that our club had owners that were so connected, especially Agnelli. And as you mentioned, Berto, he is a visionary, kickstarting the women's club, building the new stadium, just a sense like the next gen project. Like, he had so many things that he spearheaded for the team, and he was always looking to progress and move the club forward. He never wanted Juve to get stuck as a club that is a club of the past. He never wanted that for the club. And I know sometimes there was some pushback against some of his modernization techniques, and those are fair arguments, but I really think it showed how much he cared about Juve, and the fact that he wanted Juve to continue to be a strong club in Europe, across the world. He wanted them to continue this history without them getting stuck in that history, right? So I think I would be willing to take Agnelli back for sure. It was a clear identity for the team. Things were better under Agnelli. I think that's a fair argument.
Yeah, it's and if it is not him, okay? I need somebody spearheading this thing that has that Juve DNA, that understands that how to tie in the history, how to groom the culture. Because, yeah, I thought this was being left up to Giuntoli and whatnot. I thought, okay, they're going to make a hard push together. They're going to groom this culture. But they're not doing anything for the culture. Nothing's been done for the culture. It's crazy. You could argue we are going backwards. We're going backwards. You guys are the best, though. The Army rocking the AJC number ones out there. They want the Agnelli back movement. Oh, boy.
What they can do, Bert, is they can win. And winning cures everything, right?
Winning cures everything.
Right now, they're not able to get the W's.
Yeah, and we do have an ugly situation brewing. Like I said, Vlahovic, for me, he is checked out. He's checked out. You two, there's no doubt in my mind. I feel very confident in the fact this dude is checked out. Summer, and I've said this back when he was scoring goals not that long. I said in the summer, this guy is gone. He's gone. They're going to shop him. They're going to find a move. And you know what? It's just reached a point, and this is kind of another thing why I look at the situation. When my blood pressure drops, keep in mind, everybody, okay? And I take a step back and I look at the situation. It's maybe not even all about management and the club, but some of these guys probably need a break from the years that we've come out of that were so rough and everything, and could be hard for them to snap out of, and it could be better for everyone, involved. If you're not there on a day-to-day basis and you're not monitoring these guys and you're not seeing everything, like, until I watched that Fragile show on Fagioli, like watching that show to me instantly, like I just like this. I don't think he's got what it takes upstairs to hit the potential that we know he has and he carries. Major red flags there. A break could be best for him too. Coming through this, being at this place where the expectations are so high, you're under constant scrutiny by the fan base. You know, you make one error and the fan base is all over you. And the guys that have been doing it for years, they might not be able to crawl out of that hole, even if you bring in a new coach, even if you do have a new regime. So it might be the play. No matter what we think of the players, even those that fight for these guys and think that, like, maybe just that clean slate is the way to go just from that point of view. And it's just a thought that also crosses my mind, is that the individuals on the other side, right? Look at Moise Kean.
Yeah.
I don't know if he would be breaking through the way he is if he was still with us. I really don't have that confidence in saying, yeah, he'd be backing up Vlahovic and he'd be begging. I don't know.
I don't think so.
You know, they say like it's hard to heal in the environment you were hurt in, right? So I think that that's a really good point. Sometimes players just need a clean slate. They need a change. They need to stop carrying the mental weight of the past 3 years with them, especially the guys that have been with us throughout all that time, throughout, you know. And I saw a list today too that kind of pointed out some of the things we've gone through the past few years, like the point deduction, being banned from Europe, having all your hard work and then having those points slashed away from you. Like, what does that do to you as a player? What does that do to the squad? And all of these guys are like carrying a lot of the baggage of what we've gone through and some serious defeats over the past few years and some heavy criticism that I think maybe, as you mentioned, maybe we do start to look at bringing in some new, like looking at a clean slate for certain players. Yeah, that's a fair argument.
The promising side about it is, like, the guys are speaking very highly of each other and the group, everybody that's there right now and stuff. So it's like, I don't think it's completely broken behind the scenes or to that degree. That's one positive. That's one plus, you know, and they do speak highly of Motta. But you gotta fucking win games.
Yeah.
You know? Like,
yeah.
I'm rooting for the guy. I like the guy.
Same. I know.
But my lord, man, win a game. Win a game. Huh.
We've said players are a reflection of their coach.
Teams and how they play, yes.
Yeah,
yes.
And I think Motta feels really uncertain, and I can't figure out why. He doesn't really reveal what he's thinking, but it shows in the way we play. And I think that's what I struggle with, is he looks like he's not telling. It looks like a teenager who's maybe suffering or hiding or not telling you something that's bugging them. I don't know what it is, but the players are playing the way he's looking and feeling. It's
we'll see.
There's something going on.
There's a lot to, like, I mean, there's a lot of feelings going around the fan base. Look at the chat today. You guys have been on absolute fire. I can't keep up whatsoever. You guys have been absolute fire. Again, get those likes up. Conceição is at risk of missing next Saturday's derby with Torino. So we wait for actual evaluations and an actual update. Please send them anywhere but J Medical. A muscular injury, I mean, that could be end of the season for this guy. So, yeah, I don't trust them at all. Storm the Barn. Oh, my God. We had such a discussion today. We went overtime, but we're going to try to rapid fire some of these as best as possible. Maybe we'll tackle it with one panel member, and if somebody else has something to add, we'll do it that way. Would you sacrifice Locatelli to leave Thuram as the main defensive midfielder alone and have three more creative ones a bit above him? Cope Miners, Douglas, Nico, or Yildiz. They also asked the next one, Lex specifically, give us your ideal midfielder for Juve. Why don't you just tackle this in general? Lex, will give this one to you. So would you sacrifice Locatelli to leave Thuram as the main defensive midfielder and have the creative guys up top?
I wouldn't sacrifice Locatelli. I'll start there because he's been excellent this season, really. Like, PK aside, he's been great. So I'm going to start there. It's really tough to drop Thuram with his recent form. I think I would just like to add a creative midfielder. I think either play with a proper 10 or then just play a 4-3-3 with three robust midfielders. That's my thing. Put either Yildiz, and my shout is also for McKennie in the 10, bit unique, but I think see either of those two guys, play someone in the 10 who plays as a proper 10 and go from there. Yeah, so Thuram, Locatelli, Yildiz would be my top midfield.
And your ideal midfield for Juve?
Would be, Thuram, Locatelli, and Yildiz with McKennie rotating in there somewhere. That's my ideal midfield.
Yeah, I think if you go 10, I want to see a playmaker. Yeah. I want to see Nico or Yildiz. If you want to go with the three midfielders, it's got to be 4-1-4-1. It can't be two pivots and you're that bulky. Like Thuram can move forward, or you hold it down with one of them, but I'm not so sure I'd do it with Thuram. I would do it with Locatelli if you want to run 4-1-4-1. Thuram can be one of those guys that supports the attack. He's shown that. I would do that. So, yeah, 4-1-4-1 also helps give some more freedom to the wingers because you've got equal support on both sides, getting those guys advanced. As this quick hidden on this one. This one's going to go to Paolo. When Milan went with two strikers, Motta didn't react. We should have clamped down at this point and played on the counter. That's more of just a statement, Ray. Come on, man. But yeah, I agree. I don't know. I agree. I want to bang my head against this desk when I see Kalulu just freaking abandon ship like for no reason at all. Why? Good God. Tuna steaks. Still one of the best handles out there. Could this be a real possibility? And I know it's a lot. Sell Vlahovic, Danilo, Arthur, Fajo. Oh my goodness. This month. And sign or loan deals for 2 attackers and 2 defenders. I'm going to say this right now. The deals at the back line are dwindling, everybody. Okay? Silva, who knows what the hell's going on. Benfica's, they know how to deal. They're tough cookies in dealing. Like, they will get maximum. Okay? So if we're not prepared to do that, you're going to have to sell to basically bring them in January. Feyenoord, I don't think is going to say goodbye to Henkel in January. I don't see it happening. No. Tamori, now we're hearing Conceição is keeping him. I don't blame him. Or it's all a ploy and they played him yesterday and just want to show this sign to get more, 2 defenders is going to be tough unless one is out of nowhere and pretty cheap. Like there are links to Empoli's Ismaili there. That's a decent pickup because that's where you got to look in January. Trying to hit big guys and big moves in January, that's not a recipe for success. Like you're going to be at a premium every time. And right now, we got to go easy on the premium prices. And selling Vlahovic in January, well, then who comes in? Who's the guy that can lead the line that's ready in January? Lorenzo Luca is not him, everybody. I'll tell you.
No.
No, that would be a support player at best. How much money does a team get from Champions League versus Europa League? Oh my God, I don't have the breakdowns, but I think you can finish below 10th in the Premier League and get more than Champions League. I don't know. Feels that way sometimes. Where are we at? I don't have the exact breakdown though. I think with Bremer out and Gatti's role growing, we are really seeing Gatti's limitations. He is a rotation center back for a top team. Thoughts on Gatti there, Paulo?
I think George has that right. I think we got lucky with Gatti. He came along and was this great personality, an enigmatic figure. Um, really rose to the occasion sometimes with some great goals, but made mistakes, had some
Yeah.
own goals. I think if you rely on him to be your center back every game, all year, you're asking for it.
Yeah. At least we saved a lot on the retaining wall they built around the stadium there, having Gatti around. So there's always that. Good old landscaper. Sometimes he still has those steel toes on, for God's sakes. Seems like the problems from the start of the season has just shifted to other areas. Yeah, we talked about that. Little cracks become full-blown leaks there and give out. We seem to have improved a little on the attacking end, and that security we felt from the back line is gone. It's all about balance. That's really what it is. I get into this all the time in the comparison game, right? Allegri, Motta. I don't care much for comparisons because for me, two wrongs don't make a right. They were both lacking balance to their game. And in the end, neither team can hit second gear. It's a whole lot of the same, and it doesn't really matter how you play. Sergio Conceição, God bless the guy for what he said. He goes, I don't give a shit about tiki-taka. He's like, I care about winning. Period. I came here to win. They're asking him, how do you want to play? What do you mean, how do I want to play? I want to win. It's as simple as that. That's why it comes down to a coach getting the most out of what he has, doing the best, finding results. You've got to put it together. Has Motta put it together to the best? Are they at max capabilities? That's a question you have to ask. And we were asking the same question last season with that team. Is this maximum capability? I say no to both of these guys right now. It's not at max. And the results tell you that. The results tell you that. And not only that, but furthermore, what you see on the pitch. The play, body language, all that. Two wrongs don't make a right. We're not doing the comparison thing. Right, Lex? Right, Paulo? We're not doing the comparison thing.
I don't even want to bring it up.
Ain't happening.
Just comparing a bad last season to a bad this season, no.
And now we got to get into Cope Miners taking a lot of heat. Alex P coming in here. Half the reason for Cope's May performance was Duchan's atrocious off-the-ball movement, in my opinion. We get to the same point about Duchan. What's he good at, actually? So, first off, Cope Miners, you guys know where I stood. I would have taken him out. I would have taken him out yesterday. But it also ties into roles. Like, he was getting into positions. I don't need to see Cope Miners try and bring down an aerial ball going 1v1 with a defender up high, whatever. That's not his game. I saw that like 2 or 3 times. I'm like, what the hell are we doing? That's not his game. He doesn't have the agility, even if he settles that thing, to then do anything. He's a driving midfielder. He can make those late runs, but we've already established in the season that he's better from further back. And even then sometimes he plays with the handbrake on. But I don't know if I could blame his performance yesterday on Duchan, but Duchan was poor. Where are you guys at on that? Cope Miners? On Duchan? Lex? Paulo?
I agree. Like, Duchan was poor. I agreed with the substitution that he made, trying out Nico. I think the fact we didn't have a support striker has been a problem, but everybody knows about that one. Coop, I just think, for me, has been meh in the 10 overall. So I don't really know if that has anything to do with Duchan's movement or not, but I do think Duchan's disconnected from the rest of the team, and that's been an issue. Depending, like, honestly, it doesn't really matter who plays there. He seems disconnected. I think what he is good at is winning the ball, like hold up play and front post runs. And I think that he has been good at that. So I don't know why we don't see more of that. But yeah.
All right. Paulo.
Coop had some nice one-touch passes yesterday, and I think he's a very intelligent player. I think Motta needs to find a way to get him doing what he does best. And Dusan, he's a mystery to me. It's like Lex we said ages ago. He scores the goals he shouldn't, and he misses the ones he should.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He wasn't great yesterday, and his movement off the ball is sometimes questionable. So, but I'll go back to the same thing I said. Well, get his replacement before you get rid of him, and I don't know who that is.
Yeah.
So,
Othman coming in here. Social media made Motta a great coach. This man is just not good enough for a top club in Italy. What do you think? I think he's too stubborn and rigid to take that next step. And I said this thing, you guys, the Army will know more than anybody. I've said it all along. This team does not change until Motta changes. If he is unwilling to break of some of the rigidness that he holds, some of the stubbornness that we see, we go nowhere. And I stand true to that. And I think if you're going to talk about him, I think he has a lot of the qualities. And I do agree with, his philosophy and everything and whatnot, but he has to be willing to give if the team and the moments call for it. And again, right now, moments is key. Us failing to hit moments in games is not just because of the players. If I'm on the sideline yesterday at the 20th minute and you're 1-0 and I see instant drop off in pressure, it's not going to take till halftime for me to be running up and down that sideline saying, get up the pitch, win the ball back early, put them under. We don't change until he changes. He's got everything it takes to be a coach for a top club in Italy, but it won't happen until he understands moments and how to deliver with the guys he has. But I think he's got everything it takes, to be honest.
Agreed. He's proven at Spezia, proved himself at Bologna. So I think his track record speaks for itself. He has this, the ability. As you mentioned, it's just a matter of being willing to accommodate a bit more to the players we have and to moments in matches. I agree.
He's got to be careful with what he says too sometimes. I'll just say that.
I'm going to disagree. I think what he did with Bologna and Spezia was save them. Spezia, he saved from relegation.
Yeah.
Bologna, he made an impression with them. I have no evidence that he is a top team coach. I have no evidence. He's giving me no evidence. And I was interested in him because I was fed up of Allegri ball. But I don't know if he was the right guy or not, because I was just happy to see Allegri ball leave and wanted something else. But
this is the thing why I said I don't think we're seeing the same guy, though. And this is why, again, I agree with kind of both points. He made an impression there, but he hasn't made an impression with us. He hasn't.
I'll believe it when I see it. I haven't seen it yet.
He also,
and we're not Bologna.
He also, because yes, big difference between those clubs and us. He also, though, changed almost per game, per opponent at Bologna all throughout last season. Changes in lineup, changes in formation, changes in setup, constantly. I thought we were getting this meticulous guy at planning for matchups for exactly who you're going to get. What we're seeing is plug and play, rinse and repeat, recycled, game in, game out, which is not who he was last season. Yeah. So it's weird because I wouldn't have signed up for that if it was a guy that's one-trick pony. I never thought he was a one-trick pony. He didn't show it last season. So somewhere along the line, something has changed. But this Motta, yeah, I don't know. This Motta is not showing some of the things that showed the signs that he could, because you have to be able to adapt. You have to be able to adapt to be a good coach. What did I say about Max Allegri these past 3 years? I said it's not the same Max as the first tenure, because all that good that was Max being able to adapt and shift a game like that, it was non-existent these past 3 years. And people say it's the roster. Hey, maybe you're right. I actually think there's multiple issues. It's not just coach. It's not just sporting director. It's not like, it's everything right now. We got to get it right. Bob Alberto's classic line, a team on the field is a reflection of the manager. Motta is playing safe and scared. I was billed the statue in June. I got it wrong. Can we come out of this? Wow, Trim coming out flat out saying he got it wrong. So he's already saying Motta got it wrong. But can we come out of this? I honestly don't know. I don't know. You know? I don't
Motta
know.
had a really bad first half in Bologna last year. Bologna kind of stunk the first half, if you look at their record. The second half, they got momentum and he had better results. Maybe the second half is where Motta surprises us.
Yeah, I hope so. I hope so. Yeah, he's still short. He's still short the striker and the center back, like the roster gap for me. But I agree. I hope the second half.
Well, me and Skanga were going at it, a month ago, and he's saying, all is good, you're losing it for nothing, and I'm like, am I? Because the signs were there, and I said, I just need it resolved. Because the longer it goes on, I understand what can happen. Yeah. You follow sports enough, you know what happens. If a team can't sort out issues, it starts to grow into something bigger. With a lack of leadership, if you're asking me right now, does this team have enough to crawl out of this? I'm at a 50%. Like, it's 50-50. It's 50-50 for me. This month, we'll decide it, though. The run of fixtures you have this month, this is make or break. And for Motta as well, it's no surprise to me whatsoever. Some are like, oh my God, you're already thinking about cutting the coach. I was not surprised, stunned, shocked whatsoever when the rumors finally hit mainstream media that, this is a make or break month for Motta, and he is at risk. It's no surprise whatsoever. And I'm going to be honest with everybody. I feel it should be. Because at some point of the line, all your shit, like carousels, coaching carousels, all this, the project, the plan, the build, etc., has to go out the window. You have to set standards.
Would you take Gasparini right now if he was available? If he said, yeah, I'll come to Juve right now, would you take him?
It's hard to say no.
And I'm not saying I would or wouldn't. I just thought a lot about him the past couple of weeks.
It would make sense for our big signing of Cope Miners. But, I mean, how wouldn't you? I mean, he's done a lot with Atalanta. Like, a lot. Primo Calcius Gasparini is not a big club manager. Was Conte a big club manager before he came to Juve?
No.
Because he was at fucking, where was he, Ascoli or some shit?
Yes.
Like, what are we talking about?
I'll take Atalanta's sporting director, too, with him.
Yeah.
Maybe like Jurgen Klopp.
Like North American sports.
Jurgen Klopp.
Siena, yeah. Siena, Ascoli. Yeah, I don't understand how it's like. So all these guys need to stay at those clubs and never never make a move to a big club. They're just not big club managers. How do you even know until they get the crack? I don't know. I don't know. Conte was a Juventino, sure, but still by that logic, I mean, holy shit. We could say Zabina was a Juventino based on his attitude and everything, and like, you want to pull him in as coach? I don't even know what this guy's doing right now.
Pirlo was a Juventino.
What's that? Pirlo was a Juventino.
And unfortunately, he wasn't able to be a strong coach.
Yeah. Yeah. Is that collapse happening with Danilo and Ramos in there? Is that collapse happening with Danilo and Ramos in there? Or Tech and Rabiot for that matter? So we're assuming we went in for Sergio Ramos as the free agent pickup there at the ripe age of 38 years old, which I believe is still very young, everybody. Very, very young player. I don't know because, I'll be quite honest, it's been a shit show for several years now, and collapses have happened. And we had an epic collapse last season with Rabiot, with Tech there, with like, we need to get things together. We need to get things together. Leadership helps, but it's balance. It all has to be balanced. It's a juggling act. You need the experience. You need the young talent. You need the business to get right. You need culture. There's no one size fits all. Yeah. And I think that's what bothers me the most is that maybe these guys are acting like it's one size fits all. And it's a problem. It's a problem. When do you guys realistically see reinforcements arriving? This is infuriating. Couldn't tell you. I don't think it's looking good for prospects. We'll just wait and see what they do. But it sounded in the interview yesterday like there's a little bit of urgency behind Giuntoli. It sounded that way anyways with the words he was saying. Like, you know, they're ready to get that attacker. They're ready to get that defender. Who it's going to be, who knows? Who knows? Nico as Dušan's backup is not a solution either. What do you guys think of Nico up top there? Like, it was not a whole lot going on. But again, that game was... It's hard to pick it up. This is another reason why I get pissed off at Motta. You got the momentum. You come out of the gate. You shut it down. If you need to crank it up again, you can't. It's too hard for this team to do that. So you never give it up. You try to stick with it. Yeah. Like, if you were... Teams that can do that are like teams that have been playing together for a long time, that have a lot of chemistry. If you want a team that could like be boom up here and then all of a sudden, hey, you know what, we're gonna cruise for like 10 minutes and then boom, you don't do that with an overhaul team in their first friggin' year. You can't. They cannot do that. That's like a team that has been just like, they can go from shift from fourth to second, back up again, take it to sixth. Like, yeah, I don't know. So the game itself, these moments, it's hard to gauge a lot on Nico there. But I like Nico as a 10. I'll be quite honest. Even as a winger, I'm not, but he can do it. I don't know. I think the Dušan backup thing is just a disaster in general. Mm-hmm. Should have been settled in the summer. And I think it would have helped him out too, to be honest. Long run.
Oh, yeah.
I don't get the Di Gregorio's taking a lot of hate. And he's my guy, but I gave him shit for yesterday too. The second goal, I just think, was a fucking unfortunate series of events. Yes, the penalty was savable, but the second goal was on neither Gatti or Digre. If the cross is finished and Digre isn't far out, it's almost 100% a goal from Abraham. Di Gregorio hate. I still stand behind Di Gregorio.
Me too.
Agreed. Oh yeah, I like him.
Yeah. He's been great. I think it's hard to criticize him. Last game, okay, maybe it's warranted a little bit, but I think in general, he's been really good for us.
Yeah. Yeah. It's one of those things. He's not the only one that's made mistakes, but he's also come up clutch as of late in quite a few matches. Is what it is. It's what it is. I rate Motta for his playing performance, the formation, and the changes of players. Unfortunately, up until now, it is a 5 out of 10. What's your rating for Motta so far out of 10, Paulo?
4.
All right, Lex, out of 10.
I'm gonna say a 5. I think like even is fair. Yeah. Not quite swaying either way yet.
4.5. I'm just gonna split you two. I'm gonna go 4.5. I don't. Yeah, there. I'll let one of you be the negative and one of you be the positive. Okay, I'll just hover there in the neutral zone. Yeah, it's gotta be better. It's gotta be better. Who do you bring in as a new coach? Oh my God, I don't want to think about that. I don't want to, like, honestly. I know there's a lot of shouts for Mancini who's available and everything like that. I'm not feeling it. And I don't even want to get into this conversation, but I mean, if the call comes in, everybody, okay? If the call comes in, hey, at a moment's notice, everybody, okay? For all of you, at a moment's notice. Tudor, we got to stop focusing on, and I think this is probably good, you got to stop focusing on the play and, like, chasing champagne football and all this shit, and just realize you got to it's got to be a guy that gels, that meshes, that knows how to bring out what you need, results. Right now, there's a disconnect. There's a disconnect there. They're all talking as if there's none. But on the pitch, there's a disconnect. Yesterday, what's that?
I was gonna say Paulo was talking about Klopp earlier.
Klopp, he ain't leaving that Red Bull gig.
No.
We got time for 2 more. Let's see what we got. Yesterday, I focused attentively on Tomori. To be honest, I was not impressed. As for Xerxes, is he the right striker to what we need? I'm a no for Xerxes. I'm a no. I don't like us chasing based on what we've seen so far this season. I'm not a fan of chasing guys now for this guy and then potentially getting stuck, especially if it's a make or break month of January. So I'm a no for Xerxes. Tomori, I'm actually fine with Tomori. I think he's fast as hell. I think he's okay. Like, I got no problems with him, honestly. If the price is right, the devil is always in the details. What do you guys think? Tomori, Xerxes?
I'm saying yes to Xerxes. If we get him on a nice, like, cheeky loan or something, like, from Man U, I think we might find a way to, like, swindle something. I think it could be sweet to maybe give us an opportunity for a backup and then being able to take advantage of the Man U situation. I don't know. I think I'd be cool with it. I'd be interested to see how it went. Yeah.
All right. Paulo?
For the right price, he could be an interesting piece. I don't see him as a replacement for Dusan. Maybe he can give him some relief. I think he might be interesting behind Dusan. Mm-hmm. So I think he's an interesting piece for the right money, but Man U's desperate and they'll want 40 mil for him. They'll want their money back. And I think if you can get him for 20 mil, 25 mil, he's interesting. I was watching a lot of Hanko tape for the past week and a half, and I really like him.
Oh,
but he won't go from Feyenoord. They're 4 points out of second, and they're in the Champions League, so they can't let him go. But I think he's the right kind of guy. I want to see someone you can have in there for the next few years. And I love the left foot, and he's thin and he's fast. He's tall, interesting player, aggressive.
Okay, machine gun. Many praised our summer mercado. How do you rate it now after half a season? We had it high around 8, something like that, to be honest. Now, all things considered, I still think it's in a positive based on Thuram, based on Di Gregorio. I will still consider that a big positive. I'm not like hating completely on Kalulu because I still think that's cheap business. We are going to finalize it, and I think as a fullback, he'll be much, much better for us. So I still rated on that. Cope Miners, Luis hasn't played enough. Hasn't even played enough for me to really rate. Nico has looked really good since coming back from injury. Yesterday, obviously, barring, but that was dog shit for as a whole. I don't want to get into that second half, but I've gone down to maybe about 6.5 to a 7. Still positive. Still a positive window, I think, for sure. So I'm going to say 6.5 to 7. Paulo?
I was thinking about an 8, and I want to keep it around an 8 because I still believe in the players we have. I'm mad at Juntali for not giving us enough players.
Yes.
So I think that's where I would maybe go down a 7 is because the lack of quantity is proving to be a real issue right now. Our players are struggling.
Depth is the hit for sure. Lex?
Ooh, I would say I'm gonna go 4 out of 10, just for the hit on the depth. I know it's a little low. I was like debating between neutral as a 5, but I'm gonna take the hit for depth. But it's tough.
It's
I
understandable.
don't know. It's tough. It's tough.
Thoughts on Yildiz in the 10 and Cope Miners to the bench for now? Having him start off the bench is not going to hurt us any. I mean, if you want to play a true 10, yesterday, I called it before the game. It was a bit of a 4-1-4-1. And that's what you need to do if you play 3 midfielders. If you don't play 3 midfielders, put Yildiz in the 10. What did I say? He played on the outside on the right wing there. This guy just needs to be on the pitch, period. When you're that talented, when you're that good, and you could see that in this kid, you just get him on the pitch. It really doesn't matter where. But it brings me to the other point because there's a lot of people saying scrap the inverted wingers. Even get Chico on the left and get Yildiz on the right. That way they can beat guys and shoot the same way they're driving the ball and everything. What do you guys think? We should scrap the inverted wingers? Because that is one thing that talk about Motta inverted wingers is like the be-all, end-all. But yesterday, he went against it by keeping Mbangula out there to the left. He could have easily put him on the right, which he's done already this season a few times. But he opted to keep Yildiz on the right, and that was interesting because he didn't have to do that. But he did. Do we scrap the inverted wingers?
Follow?
It's tough because a lot of it depends on the player. And like you look at Rashford, he wants to be the inverted winger and he's very predictable now and he's one-dimensional. I think if you look at Chico on the left side, that'd be interesting because it'd force him to pass more and send the ball in earlier. So I'm not against inverted wingers. I think it can be overrated. And I have no problem with Yildiz on the right. But then again, like you said, he's just got to be on the field.
Yeah, that's just it. He's just got to be on the field. Inverted or not, these guys do need freedom still. Like, that's the biggest thing for me is allow them to go where the space is, where they think they can do the damage and truly unleash them. But yeah, that's really it. That's really it. Vinman wasting no time. Motta out. Enough is enough. Well, we've come to the end. Aldo Bonassa asked the last one, which is, what are the chances of another unbeaten Serie A season this year? I don't want it because I don't want to be unbeaten and not finish, up there at the top. It's wild to fathom that is what's going on in the league. I'm going to be quite honest, everybody. I don't think the unbeaten goes beyond this month. I don't think it makes it out of January. January's a gauntlet. And I don't think we're anywhere near prepared. And I think we are actually regressing. So I hate to leave on this note, but I'm being realistic here. Like, I don't like the way this is heading. Until I see Motta show us push for something new, something different, and not just players, not just positions, actual attitude that suits the games, the moments. It's not just one thing, because you have players that are struggling with consistency. That's on them. You have a coach that is disconnected from matches in terms of the changes he's making. You have a coach that's stubborn in some of the things he is willing to do or not do. And you have this inability to perform for 90 minutes. That even in our wins was apparent. We've got a lot of work to do. Way more work than we should in January. But if you ask me, is January make or break for Thiago Motta Juventus? I say yes. It is. And I say buckle up, everybody. So I ain't going anywhere. I know Lex and Paulo ain't going anywhere, so we just see what happens here. But undefeated season, come on. It's we're not playing to a degree to keep up this. It won't happen. And to be honest, if we start getting wins, I'll take a loss here and there. I'll be quite honest. You want to win every game, obviously, but we've said this. The ones that have been kind of worried, let's call it worried, and I know Paula was there with me. As much as I appreciate the attempts of Omer, Skenga, and Lucci, okay? Myself, Paolo, Lewis, and even Lex to some degree, okay? Because Lex is forever the optimist, and we love that, okay? And I am too when it comes to predictions and everything, forever the optimist. But the ones that have been concerned for a bit, you start looking at this, and it's just like you say the same things, like the breakthrough's going to come. This is a game. This is a moment, We could turn it around from here. We could do this. When it doesn't happen, it's like fool me once, fool me twice. Prove it. Prove it. It's all just talk now. I don't care about the interviews. I don't care about nothing else but what's happening on the pitch. There's an inability to play 90 minutes at the level that is required. I don't know how you fix it, but I'm not in charge. So, hey, the guy that is in charge, good luck to you. Good luck to you, because rumor has it there are phone calls being made, and that Elkan's getting scared as shit is everything that I'm hearing. Seriously, because top 4, they can't lose that. And I saw comments in here nervous about losing Yildiz and him getting plucked from us, and talent getting plucked from us. I can't stress to you all enough, if you have enough faith to see this thing into like a 7th or 8th place, I can't stress to you enough that no, that just simply cannot happen for any project. Buckle up. I got my seatbelts on. I'm ready for anything. Okay? We'll see. The Derby de la Mola is in 1 week's time. You know the drill. Keep you up to date in the news. Keep you up to date, and then we'll do a pregame show. But Lex, closing thoughts. Where are you at as we sign off today? One game at a time. You think we'll hit that Champions League goal qualification? It's become our goal now. We had higher aspirations.
I hope we do. I really hope we do. I think January will play a big role in that. I'm more nervous. The Fiorentina match and this past game have both made me a lot more nervous and uneasy, I will admit, going into January. So I really hope that the right team shows up. That's what you have to hope for these guys, and they find a way to come together and get past that mental block. We need them to. Thank you. Thanks everyone in the chat, by the way.
Absolutely. The chat, second to none. And Paulo always getting praise. Great addition.
Yeah.
And yes, very, very happy. And Mr. Pragmatic, we finish with you and your thoughts in closing, my friend.
Oh, well, we've just seen half a season. We are undefeated. We have some really good quality players. There's a lot of games to be played. We still have a chance at the Champions League. And Motta has another game to prove himself worthy. Let's see.
Time. It's all about time. Some say you need more, but time you also never get back. So is more required, or would we be wasting it and playing a very dangerous game? It's up for interpretation. It's up for discussion. But for today, we end there. All we know, 100%, it needs to be better. It needs to be better. To all of us, to all of you, we seem to be the ones holding on to the standards and actually realizing like where these players are playing, who this coach, who this manager represents, who the sporting director represents. This isn't Napul, buddy. You're not at Napul anymore. Let's go. Pick it up. Pick it up. Hey, win, lose, or draw. A lot of draws, no matter what. Fino alla fine. Forza Juventus. Until next time. Army, hope you enjoy your weekends no matter what. Don't let the Supercoppa let you down, okay? We're back at it this week. Big January. And let's see what these guys can do. Will the turnaround come? We've asked that question multiple times, but it's time for this team to put up or shut up. Prove it. Show us. Let's go. Take care, everybody. Ciao, ciao.